To provide the audience a little bit of background, I'm a Salesforce administrator. Worked at two companies full time. So I guess in the U.S. standards, it's a W-2 employment. I'm in Canada, so we don't have the W-2, but we just call it full-time employment. Yeah. So the first organization was a nonprofit, kind of like an accidental admin. I was in web development, working as the webmaster for that organization. Um, we had in-house Salesforce guy uh, who was there for about 3 months, 4 months, something like that.
Okay.
And then he left, and then kind of left the hole where no one really knew what it was or how to deal with it. So then my director came in and said, I'm going to put you on this now. You can still handle the web, but this is another thing you're going to do.
Okay. Yeah,
And yeah,
that's not horribly uncommon. It's unfortunate, but it's not uncommon. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
At the time, I'm like, oh no, what is this new system?
Hmm.
Now I got to do two people's jobs, right? But then, yeah, as I explored the environment, went on some YouTube channels and did some self learning, uh, Trailhead, Udemy, things like that. I'm like, okay, this seems like something quite reasonable. It's not too complicated, and it's on par with other IT stuff that I've done. So yeah, pretty much got certified in. It took a bit too, because I did get kind of cocky at the beginning.
Sure.
I did the one, the admin sort of trail mix, the official one. I
Yeah.
completed that one. And I said, okay, let me do the certificate, and that was the wrong solution to that, because I did the certificate. I think I got it like 61 or something like that.
Okay. So just missed it. All right.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, that's a fluke. Let me try it again. So then
No.
I
Okay.
tried it right away. I think they gave you like 24 hours to
Hmm.
try it again, right? Or back then they did. And then I tried it again, got almost the same. I think it was 50, I don't know, 1 point less or something like that.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, maybe I need to figure out something else. It's not working. Yeah. So then went on to Udemy. There's a guy called Mike Wheeler. He had some nice courses, and he still does. So
Yeah.
took one of his courses. He explained things in detail. Not knocking on Trailhead, but they pretty much guide you, hold your hand to the project completion. So
Yeah.
it wasn't too good for sole purpose of studying for exams.
Sure.
Yeah. So then I guess fast track to my next organization where I'm the Salesforce sort of engineer, as they would call it. I don't do any development work, but because we have three administrators, they wanted to differentiate the three. So
Hmm.
on the IT side, they call it an engineer, and then on the business side, they call it an administrator.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
So yeah.
Okay. So you just to sort of rehash, you sort of start your career as your Salesforce career,
Mhm.
um, accidental admin.
Yep.
You've got an admin at the company. They work there a few months. They leave you guys sort of
High and
stranded with
dry.
Salesforce, and they bring you in and basically let you do two jobs, as many companies do. They let
Yeah.
you do Salesforce plus whatever you used to do,
Yeah.
and you pick it up. You figure, hey, this is pretty intuitive. You find some training online through Udemy and Trailhead, and I'm sure like knowledge articles and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Run through that, realize, okay, passing the exam might take a little more than Trailhead. And then that's when you hop over to Mike Wheeler's Udemy courses. And obviously, some structured training like that can help you, get across the finish line certification wise. So you knock that out. And then I think the part that I want to make sure we understand is then you leave that role as a Salesforce slash web, web
Yeah, slash
expert.
IT. Yeah, I had to wear many hats in that company.
Okay, so you swap over from that, and you actually take another full time position, but this time as a Salesforce administrator. They call you an engineer,
Yeah.
but effectively you're in a Salesforce administrator role full time with this new
Mm,
company.
yep, that's
Okay,
right.
awesome, perfect.
So yeah, the new company, it's not exclusively Salesforce because we're also dealing with many other cloud applications. So my department, we have, I think, 4 or 5 people usually rotating. Um, we deal with Salesforce, Workday, Tableau, um, SaaS applications like that. So
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
main role is for Salesforce, but once in a while, I have to support Workday or something like that.
Okay,
So
okay,
yeah,
yeah. So
and yeah,
you've got your hands full there. That sounds like good experience. Are you
yeah,
still in that role?
I am still in that role.
Okay.
So I think one of your videos said where you left your company or you I think you transitioned into a part-time role
Hmm.
or something
Hmm.
like that. Yeah. So that you can keep the benefits and things like that and something to fall back on. So I'm still in that role for the sake of benefits. And,
Hmm.
um, it's not an easy role, but it's definitely not, as packed with all sorts of different stuff like the previous role that, I'm doing like 4 or 5 different people's jobs at
Right.
once. So,
Right. And I'm sure you're getting much better, focused experience in the Salesforce ecosystem and sort of the tools that are associated with Salesforce rather than, spreading yourself really thin, getting to know a lot of things at an intermediate level as opposed to getting to learn one platform at an expert level.
mhm, yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
that's definitely useful. Yeah.
So what interested you in, I guess, freelancing? Because I assume that's where we're headed next, is
That it,
sort of the progression into that.
yeah.
So you've got your feet wet, you're immersed in the Salesforce ecosystem at this point. You've got a full-time job as a Salesforce professional. Um, and then for some reason you decide, hey, I think I might be interested in, applying some of these skills to make some money outside of my day job.
Hmm. Yeah.
So how did
So
that come to be? Yeah.
that's an interesting question because I think I saw your post somewhere. I forget where now. It's been years,
Yeah.
like 2 years maybe. Maybe in the Salesforce for Everyone group.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe or
Maybe.
LinkedIn, something like that.
It was likely either Salesforce for Everyone on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's where I live.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw that, and then I saw you know you particularly help folks out with yeah, you had a program particularly helping folks out with starting branching off doing their own thing as a side business or full time
Mhm.
um, as freelance consultant. So and then I went on your website and then I saw you had all this material, not only videos but also templates for documents, which is a big time saver because if you wanted to go into freelance or consulting, coming up with that stuff and writing out all those line items for those technical, I don't know, like contracts or whatnot,
Mhm.
it's quite a headache. You have to Google a lot, and yeah, so that's definitely something I find was of value.
Mhm.
Yeah, so and then
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's a big one for most people coming in, especially if you haven't been. Well, I think it's twofold. It's like if you haven't been a Salesforce consultant for a mid or large size consulting company, you may not know how projects function from start to finish, like the
Hmm.
process of a project. But then almost certainly you're not going to have that process documentation for, like you mentioned, like a statement of work, the payment terms, putting together requirement and solution documentation, and those kind of things that you have to do to get through a project. Not to mention, training documentation and moving into support agreements or what have you. So there's a lot there, and if you haven't been exposed to consulting, you may not even be aware of the need for some of those documents. But
Yeah,
then
that's
even
right.
outside of that, if you work for a consulting company, those are all, it's not like you can just grab their documentation, because that's all, legally theirs, and you can't just reuse it.
Yeah.
So you have to go, like, to your point, you have to go Google and create your own, and figure out what you need to put in there and how to use them. And yeah, I think that's sort of the whole purpose behind it. The program does not, as you can attest to, the program does not go out and find you clients. Like,
Hmm.
that is a hustle that that I think everyone really needs to experience long term. Is, if you have somebody give you your first client, great, but what about the clients for the rest of your career?
Hmm.
So it really forces you to, yeah, we're going to give you the process documentation, show you how to go through a consulting project and be successful, but you still got to be communicative and have those soft skills and find your clients. So yeah, to your point, those can be beneficial, but you got to bring you to the table too.
That's right. You gotta work hard at it.
Yeah. So what do you think allowed you to progress to the point you're at now? I mean, I think the program, to an extent, obviously gave you some sort of foundational knowledge, but what I guess tips do you have for other people who are already in the freelance program, or individuals thinking about joining or even if they're not going to join, like, what would you say to people who are considering doing some freelancing on the side?
Hmm. Yeah. So the couple benefits, with freelancing is number one, you do make much more money than you would, through a promotion or jumping to another company. Because
Hmm.
usually that's, you move up one level, gain a couple grand here and there, but it's not, as fulfilling as you would like.
Hmm.
Um, and number two is like you said, it, it's a great opportunity to learn not only about how to start a company, but how to, strengthen yourself as a person,
Hmm.
professionally, and as well as intellectually, all sorts of that good stuff. Um, yeah, so if I didn't go through this process, I wouldn't have gained all this knowledge on how to start a business, how to look for clients, how to, come up with the, write sort of those documentation, SOWs, and how to, interact with clients or potential clients. So
Sure.
that's especially important, um, since I am introverted, not like a extrovert or, one of those people that come from sales, that they
Mhm.
can just talk to you for 5 minutes and you give them your business number or you give them money or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it's funny because for me personally, I found that through working with individuals like you, it turns out that the vast majority of people in these freelance programs and the career development program are all, not all, but the vast majority are introverts. And that sort of blew my mind. I mean, I was on a call once. It's on YouTube. It's this. We did. I think we called it, like, it was a Talent Stacker live event. We had like a panel of
Hmm.
5 people, and at one point in that call, somebody called out that they were an introvert, and so we did a quick, like, show of hands, who's an introvert on the call, and everyone except me was an introvert, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Because clearly, like, I build energy in the social situations, but as an extrovert, but I think for introverts it can be, taxing to be in those situations, unless you really want, to be part of that conversation.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely tough, especially with the beginnings of my client search,
Yeah.
having to, go through all these calls and interviews with different people, different companies. Uh, you're pretty much shaking in your boots.
Yeah.
You don't really know what to say. You're jittering, stumbling on your words. But
Yeah.
I guess the easier part is because it's COVID. You don't have to look them directly in the eye, and they don't really see you sweat unless your webcam is 4K or something.
That's right. That's right. You got a really good webcam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pro tip: don't get a really good webcam for these. Uh, so yeah, if you wouldn't mind, to the extent that you're comfortable, would you walk us through landing your first client? I think a lot of people out there don't quite understand. Well, understandably, they don't quite understand this process. And I mean, I've got like a free like freelance kit that sort of walks you through the entry level stuff and the fundamentals of understanding freelancing, but
Hmm.
it's still hard to understand the realness. And I think you're getting to that point of the realness of the anxiety and the nervousness of these calls. But I guess, could you walk us through a little bit your approach to how do you get in contact with a company that
Hmm.
might even be interested in you? How do you get on these calls to even have these interviews or discovery calls with potential clients? And yeah, how do you take that through to, a signed statement of work? For those of you who don't know, typically that's the first step to really get something underway, is getting,
Yeah, that's
uh,
right.
you know, people can talk and say, yeah, it sounds great. And we really want to work with you. But without a signed statement of work, that project is not for real yet. So
Hmm.
how did you go from sourcing potential clients to getting on the phone with them to getting a statement of work signed?
Yeah. So definitely, I went through a couple different phases, different approaches. I went on what's that website, Fiverr,
Yeah.
and some of those freelance sites.
Hmm.
Uh, Made some accounts, but wasn't really sure when someone would hit me up. Seemed like it's a wait and see game on
Mm,
those websites. And I just didn't want to wait and see because
right.
I wanted to, make sure I hit all the avenues.
Hmm.
Um, so I left that aside. So the next thing I did was try to convert some of the um, job postings online into freelance gigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that was especially difficult. A number of reasons. One is um, they're looking for a full-time person for their
Hmm.
staff,
Hmm.
especially larger companies or even mid-sized companies. They're definitely looking for those kind of people, and they have all their process in place for their job posting already, like by their HR people. So
Hmm.
they're really hesitant to even pivot to doing something else outside of their their borders. So you really got to convince these companies into even getting on a call with you.
Yeah.
So how I went about that is initially I just applied for the job, and then I talked to the I guess the frontline person, which would be the talent acquisition or HR. And then you mentioned that if they're flexible with a consultant on a contract basis, they immediately shut you down
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they don't want to change their process. 'Cause they made up their mind, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was I tried that for a couple months actually,
Okay.
um, and then I realized this is not working. I got to do something different. Um, so eventually I came up with okay, instead of reaching out and applying directly, let me reach out to someone in charge, like the hiring manager or someone like
Hmm.
that, right? So I went on LinkedIn, search a job posting, and then try to like decipher the job description. If they
Hmm.
have, oh, this person is reporting to senior manager of whatever department, then I would reach out to that senior manager. Um, this method got me a few more calls,
Okay.
callbacks, but still, it wasn't the greatest solution,
Okay.
even though it's an improvement.
Hmm.
Um, So then the next thing or things I did that eventually, got me interviews, a couple interviews a week, I would say, that were
Okay.
consistent, were instead of reaching out to the hiring manager, I would reach out to his boss, his or her boss, or if it's a smaller company, even go directly to the executive levels, like
Hmm.
the CEOs or the CTOs,
Hmm.
COOs of that nature, and then just giving them my pitch, my spiel, saying
Yeah.
I'm interested in this job. It would make more sense. It would benefit your company, to financially and also in terms of my skill level. Because as they can see, like through my LinkedIn, because I'm reaching out through LinkedIn, that
Hmm.
I have all these certificates. I have two previous, Salesforce employment experience.
Hmm.
So they would see all this information and then they'll think, oh, okay, that does seem like something, that would benefit us in terms of, not only saving on cost, but also, you know, not having to have a full-time person sitting there and then giving them money and then, they might take breaks or they go on vacation or things like that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it is definitely beneficial for both parties involved. So I definitely got more callbacks and interviews through that method. And then a secondary method would be, you can still apply directly to the job and then you just wave off the HR person sort of, you get on call, you say, oh, um, you know, I'm interested in this job. You tell them what they want to hear and
Yeah.
then you get to the next round and then you do
Right.
your pitch.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then with actually landing your first client, was it through one of those avenues? Was it through that final approach, or actually landing your first client? I guess what approach did you use that actually took you through to the finish line?
So I'll start off by saying a couple examples of almost getting there, but
Okay.
then
Okay.
not getting it.
Okay. So
So
so things that reasonably could have worked, but
yeah,
okay. All right.
yeah. Like as you said, until they sign the SOW, you don't get anything, right?
Right.
So
Right.
there was a couple instances of that.
Okay.
Um, Couple companies, the interview went well with hiring manager or even the executive or VP of the company, and then they said, okay, we're willing to work with you. We're good with your rate and your availability, so everything's good. Oh, you'll hear back from us um, in a couple days. Um, so there's a couple companies that said that to me, and then I'm all excited. I went out and celebrated. Well, not went out, but I got a bottle of wine that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, got one finally, right? And then they don't hear you don't hear back from them,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
you send a follow up there, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, we'll schedule another meeting, and then they don't schedule another meeting.
Hmm.
So that was kind of disheartening, but had to push through.
Yeah.
So
That's tough, especially once
yeah,
you celebrated and you've gotten their word. And yeah, I think you find in the business world and really in any world, I mean, like sort of personal relationships too, that unfortunately people's word is not everything. You really
yeah,
have to get that commitment, and in the business world that means a signed contract.
hmm,
And even then sometimes it can fall through, but once you get to that point, usually you've got commitment at that point.
yeah. And then there was another one. This was probably my fault because I didn't. I this was a couple months ago. I didn't think of get the SOW signed.
Okay.
We did sign on another agreement and an NDA.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I thought we signed a couple of documents, we're good. And they sent work and they, um, made accounts in their systems, their Slack,
Okay.
their their Google, like things like that. Like everything
Hmm.
was going. starting up already. I'm like, okay, this is legit now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That feels very legit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then started doing work for a couple days, and then I'm like, okay, let me send the SOW. Who should I send it to? He's like, oh, the lead, sort of Salesforce lead on the company, said send it to me and the CC the VP.
Okay.
Send it to them. Didn't hear back. I messaged them on Slack. They're like, oh, we'll have a look at it.
Mhm.
And then basically I got ghosted at that point. Like, I don't know what happened, but they didn't like the SOW. I have no idea.
Yeah. They just dropped communication though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I
That's
was
good to
still
look
in
at.
their Slack and, all their systems, and
Mhm.
logging into their Salesforce, their customer Salesforce orgs. So I
Yeah.
found that strange because, you know, you sh yeah, that's a bit, that was a weird one.
That's a bit of a security issue there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Ghosting a person who's an admin in your system is is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I said, okay, let me move on from that.
Mhm.
So eventually, so this is the success story now.
Yes.
Um, Last month, so one of the people I've been networking is a, BA, um, networking with, and then he actually said, here's an opportunity for a nonprofit organization. Um, are you interested? So this is through, my already previous, I think, 7 8 months of trying to, network and search for companies. And then he said, here's a company, contract. I think they're looking for 4 or 5 months of work. Are you interested? And I said, yeah, definitely send it over. He sent me a job description, or a job posting. And then I applied through that job posting like I
Okay.
would with the other ones as well. And then he also sent a referral to the hiring manager. Um, and then through this referral and the job uh, application, I got an interview. And then interview went well, as it should, um, as it did with, previous other interviews.
Sure. Sure.
But I wasn't convinced yet, so, waited a couple days, heard back. They're saying, okay, let's do have another chat, to iron out some details.
Mhm.
So had another chat, and then they were good with the rate. They're good with my availability, the types of experience I had, and I was good with, what kind of work they're doing and things like that. So then I think the next thing I did was I sent them the SOW. So
Mhm.
then, it took a couple days. I think it was over a weekend, and then it was a long weekend or something like that.
Okay.
And then so I'm nervous. It's a long weekend. The Monday was a holiday. I'm like, oh
Mhm.
my god, what if they forget, or maybe they'll have some other people applying during the weekend or the long weekend.
Sure.
So I'll get bumped out again. And then finally, I think on the Tuesday, they sent the signed SOW back. Um, and then I'm like immediately ecstatic because
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this is real now. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
Things are signed. But inside still a little skeptical because I didn't start doing anything yet. So,
Okay.
and then they sent over other documents. I think there's some business agreement and NDA, things like that
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
for their processes. So got those signed, signatures, both party signatures signed on the dotted line. I saved the copies, and then it was agreed upon, the length of the contract and the work and everything else. And then immediately, I guess within 2 days, we started getting to work.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there was probably a lot of whatever you want to call it, skepticism around that final project. I mean, because of the some of the situations you dealt with in the past, and getting that verbal or getting a non-disclosure signed, and then now you've got the
Hmm.
statement of work signed. And yeah, I mean, that's difficult, but it sounds like you've certainly made it across the finish line at this point. And I think the beautiful thing now is that you're building a reputation, you're building that list of referrals, those potential testimonials and things like that to your work as a freelancer
Hmm.
or an independent consultant. And that's really it. I mean, once you have that behind you, it makes it much easier to convince individuals in the future that you can do what needs to be done. Not to mention, if you treat this employer right, uh, or this client, I should say, then
Hmm.
chances are you'll have long-term success supporting them, and you'll probably get word of mouth referrals from them to other businesses, and it just moves forward from here. So you definitely made it over that major hurdle into that first client. So that's excellent.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely a good feeling. It took many months. I think I incorporated the company last December. Um, so it's been what, like 8 months, 8, 9 months
Okay.
of struggles. But yeah, it definitely feels good to, get that first one in the door.
Yeah.
And if anyone's watching this, don't give up. It's you're in it for the long game. It's
Mhm.
not a short sprint. It's a marathon.
And so I think that's great advice. Number one, what's your what are your next steps? Like what's your plan? What are you looking to accomplish, I guess, here in the next 12 months with your Salesforce career?
Yeah, it's a good question. So that's something I've recently started thinking of this week actually, because I'm like, okay, what happens after this, right?
Hmm.
Do I go and get another client, or do I go for another certificate, or switch my full time job, or get multiple clients and quit the full time job? What do I do?
Hmm. Yeah,
So still mulling that over.
yeah.
But I had another company hit me up actually just yesterday,
Hmm.
when I actually interviewed for them. It was a good interview, but then they said they were going in another direction.
Hmm.
Usually that's some fluffy words. That
Yeah,
means they don't like you or whatever.
yeah. It could mean absolutely anything. Yeah.
Yeah, but I followed their LinkedIn page, and they actually restructured their company. Like their
Okay.
CEO changed, and then they hired another executive. Blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
they were, I guess, they were good to their word. And we maintained a good relationship. There was no hard feelings
Hmm.
when they said, we're going in a different direction. And then I sent a
Sure.
follow up saying, thank you, for having me. And if anything pops up in the future, you know,
Yeah.
please feel free to reach out. And then, yeah, yesterday I guess the new CEO, they sent me an email saying, hey, Myron, like if you're, still looking for, you know, 20 to 30 hours a week on a contract basis, that's, we're definitely happy to have you. We can set up a meeting with the lead,
Hmm.
Salesforce lead here at your convenience. So yeah, I replied to that. So let's see where that goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. It does seem to happen that way too. And I think what you'll notice happens in the future now too is that your confidence builds. Like the more clients you have and the more success you have, the more you don't even realize it, that just the way that you talk, the way that you communicate, it all has so much more confidence to it. And you start saying things like, well, with my current client, this is what we're doing, and we've had success doing this, and this is how I currently juggle um, meetings with clients at this point. And because you're talking from a real place of, no, I do have other clients, and I should
Hmm.
have clients because I'm good at what I do. And it's interesting too, because those conversations rub off. And in an ecosystem like Salesforce, where there's so much demand for talent,
Yeah.
um, as long as you just stay focused, I think you'll find that within the next 12 months, you'll likely be in a position where you're having to pick the work that you accept or decline based on how enjoyable that work seems and how much you mesh with the companies that are reaching out to you and those kind of things.
Mm.
Do you have a plan for branding your business? Not yourself as a Salesforce professional specifically, but as Myron, the independent consultant who can help take your business to the next level, uh, just with a few hours a week or what have you. Have you done anything to this point on that front? And what do you, I guess, do you have any thoughts for what you're going to do in the future to sort of build that brand around yourself as available for future clients?
Hmm. Yeah, so that's definitely something I'm considering as well, in terms of moving forward to the in the future.
Hmm.
I have a website up. Um, so my company is called Nimbus CRM Solutions Inc.
Okay.
Um, I have a website. I have registered the domain, so my email address reflects it. Um, and then I guess the next thing would I would do is probably create a LinkedIn page, so I can start directing people there and showcasing some of the work and the experience my company does, um,
Yep.
which is me, but yeah, it's still my company.
No, that's
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, and then I guess maybe looking down the road, I guess one of the I guess not dreams, but one of the potential goals would probably be expanding the business, having more clients, and maybe even having some junior Salesforce analysts or consultants on the team, so that I don't get overloaded with work
Yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
pass on some of the easier stuff to them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, it sounds like a solid plan. I just checked out your website while we were talking. It looks really good. It's well done, and obviously you have a background in web development, so I'm sure that helps you out there.
Mm.
So yeah,
I
it
gotta
looks
put a
it looks
logo up
excellent.
there though. I don't have
Yeah,
a logo yet. And I used to be a graphic designer, so it's been slacking on that front.
that's funny. That's funny. Well, it looks awesome to me, and I'm sure it looks awesome to but potential clients.
Mm.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I guess anything else you would like to share, or you think people should be aware of who are considering, Salesforce freelancing and whether or not it's the right choice for them.
Yeah, so I recommend this to anyone, introverted, extroverted. It's definitely an experience. Even if you do get started and find a client or a couple clients and you don't like it, you can always, pivot back to a W-2 situation, full-time permanent situation, or you can consult with a larger consulting company. So it's definitely a great experience and opportunity, not only to make money, but build your own character,
Mhm.
and build your own portfolio and experience. And yeah, you just have fun with it. It's a great time.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I think it will be. Even based on your story, it's kind of funny. I think there are certain people that, even based on what we heard today, like there was a lot of struggle and sort of like climbing the mountain to get to where you are.
Hmm.
But I think the funny thing is, in the back of my mind, I'm hearing your story, and I sort of like that process. Like, I like trial and error, doing things, and you did it. You did things a little bit differently. You got a little bit better, and then you finally put the dots together and made something work. So that's what's important, and now you can build off of that for your future, and it becomes easier and easier. So I certainly appreciate you spending time with me today and taking your time out. I know obviously you're busy. You've got full-time job and clients on the side now, so
Yep.
I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with our audience here about the potentials of a freelance career.
Yeah, no problem, Brad. Always
Awesome.
good to talk with you, and I'll definitely be stay in touch and let you know my progress.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Let me know if you never ever need anything. And yeah, we'll
Will do.
definitely keep in touch. All right.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
awesome. Take care.
All right, you too.